Hello everyone, it's time for another recap for my Frontier preparations. I've caught a bunch more Dittos. I've caught in total 450 or 550. I'm not sure if I forgot to count in one session, but it's been quite a few. But I haven't had that much luck. I think I mentioned last time that I had 3 Dittos with 2 perfect IVs, but I checked them a little bit better. Turned out 2 of those had 30 IV instead on one of their stats. So now after around 500 I have 2 Dittos with 2 perfect IVs. So I've been hoping for a free IV or some more useful 2 IVs than what I got, but we'll get to something later that will solve this issue for me for the most part. And I traded over a bunch of Dittos that I didn't need for synchronized Abras that I had on Leaf Green. Because you can buy Abras for super cheap in the casino or the game corner. So I just bought, I maxed out my coins and bought a bunch of Abras to get all the synchronized natures. It took a little bit more than one try. Then I went and caught all the Safari Pokemon I didn't have yet, because I needed a couple of them. Houndour I'll be using soon in the Dome. Sunkern I needed for breeding. I think I already had a Sunkern, but I needed a male one. So I caught one when I ran into it. Miltank I might use later because Milk Drink and Heal Bell are both useful moves. Shuckle is a Pokemon I really want to use at some point. Pineco, I want to use a Fortress probably in the Frontier, or in the Dome. Maybe somewhere else as well, but definitely in the Dome. And then for other Pokemon, got a bunch more. Stantler, Snubble, Wooper. I might use a Quagsire on one of the Dome teams. I have Theory crafted for the moment. Remoraid, I really like Octillery. Like when Gen 2 was current gen and I discovered Octillery, I used it quite a lot, but its stats are a little bit awkward, but maybe we'll use it at some point. Heracross is of course a very strong Pokemon. I don't like Megahorn, but for the challenge I'm doing I might build a team with it. We only need to get gold, and we can get gold in a few attempts, even with something like Megahorn. And Wobbuffet is a Pokemon I'm really interested in. I think Counter Mirror Coat are very risky moves, because not only do you have to predict which move they will use, but you can also just get crit and die or lose too much health. But I think it's still a really interesting Pokemon. I caught a Dodrio. I already had a Doduo, but figured might as well catch the Dodrio. Definitely using Dodrio at some point. I already have a Dome team, Theory Craft. And then Pinsir. Pinsir is... it's Pinsir. I don't know, it has some good stats. And I think Swords Dance with Hyper Cutter is really dangerous when you're the player. I don't know, I'll probably try to use it at some point. I don't think it's necessarily the best Pokemon, but I think it has some potential at least. So yeah, I went through all of the Safari Zone, and there were a couple of Pokemon I already had, like Xatu, Pikachu. I don't know who else shows up only here. Oh, Goldeen already had. I went fishing for it and already had one. Also already had an Octillery from an earlier visit, and turned out Octillery was a 1% encounter. And that was my first encounter with, I don't know if it was, I think it was fishing. Somehow I got that one already. So yeah. Next thing I did was catch my Roamer. And this Latias has 44 IVs total across all stats. It is horrible. The worst thing is it has 1 speed IV with a plus speed nature, but it's slower than neutral with good IVs. And the one thing I would want this Latias to do is outspeed something like a Gengar. Can't even do that, so that's unfortunate. We'll probably use it. I mean, especially in the dome, it's still gonna be really good. And then shiny Vileplume. I didn't catch this one. This was sent to me by a viewer, B-Shows. And I'm gonna be using this on the dome, or in the dome, and maybe somewhere else as well. But yeah, I was breeding a team for it. I already had the Gardevoir before I got this Vileplume, and I still really want to use Gardevoir because I think it's good in the dome because of speed. Like the opponents are slower, and it has Destiny Bond, which is really good in the dome because if you're the higher seed and there's a tie, so all Pokemon faint on both sides, the higher seed wins. So that makes Destiny Bond even better. And there's also only 2 Pokemon, so if you just take out the first Pokemon on Destiny Bond, the second you already won. So I kept Gardevoir on the team, and I was like, okay, let's make a sunny day team. So Houndoom is the second or the last partner. So we bred Sunkern because it learns Sunny Day. Or well, we caught Sunkern, we leveled it up, bred it with Tropius. Leveled up Tropius, so it learned Solar Beam. Then we bred that with a Whismur, which initially I forgot I had to do that step. Whismur can learn both of those moves, and then Whismur can breed with Houndour. And that's how we got Houndoom with 17 speed IVs, which was the minimum I needed because it outspeeds Starmie in the dome. If you're breeding for a Houndoom yourself, or dome or something, then 27 IVs would let you outspeed Sceptile and Ductrio, which is quite useful. But I figured that would be like too much for this more casual IV challenge. And we got 26 special attack, which is quite good. You can see on the screen on the left the level 5 stats I was aiming for. And 13 speed gave me 10 to 29 IVs, and I needed it to be at least 17, so if it wasn't 17, I would have tried to find a new one. But 14 special attack was 20 to 31, and I just would take anything that had 14 special attack. With the correct nature, of course. So yeah, we got our rods in the previous update. And now we also got the Houndour, so I needed to EV train these. The Vileplume was already fully EV trained. And level 100, which... Level 100 is not what I usually challenge the Frontier at. And on cartridge, it means I have to do a lot of grinding. But we have a solution for that later on. The shiny Vileplume, by the way, it was caught in the Safari Zone. It has a timid nature, which is actually great. However, its IVs are not great. It has 2 special attack and 9 speed. I think it still outspeeds everything, at least in the dome with the sun boost, or close to everything. I don't quite remember, I looked into it, but it was a while ago. But more importantly, the special attack is really, really bad. We can't one-shot Swampert from Tucker, except when we have Miracle Seed when it comes to Giga Drain. Solar Beam, of course, one-shots, but we could die. Like, we could get crit while setting up the sun, so that's not always ideal. Although I think for gold Tucker, we will need to set up the sun to kill the Metagross with Houndoom, potentially. Yeah, but this team, Gardevoir, Vileplume, Houndoom, I mean, as you might realize, it's 3 special attackers. It's not the best, the most balanced team ever, but I think it can still have potential to get the gold. Also the Tucker fights, the silver fight we should always win. The gold fight, we might lose. Especially if it's Latias. Well, first, Metagross can just Quick Claw and one-shot Houndoom. So that we would lose if that happens. But then also there's the Latias who has Calm Mind Rest. And I'm afraid that it might get too many boosts. But I'm not sure. Because Crunch can also drop special defense. I'm not sure if we can Rest Loop it. But that's something we'll have to find out, and otherwise we'll just have to try again until we see a Metagross, I guess. So yeah, I traded over to Leaf Green and traded on one island with near the hot spring. Because that's my usual grind spot. However, after this we got a much better grinding spot. So yeah, we got to level 50 with Gardevoir and Houndoom. But we need to get to level 100, so why did I stop at level 50? Well, that's because I recently got Ruby cartridge. And there's one thing you can do in Ruby and Sapphire that you can't do in Emerald. Probably a couple of things, but this is the important one I know of. You can go to the battle tower there, which has some different Pokemon, or different sets, and it's Hoenn Pokemon only, like available in Hoenn. If you lose, and then the first thing you do is you find your roamer and battle them, then it will trigger a glitch. And the Pokemon that you lost to, as long as it's not like the first Pokemon in the trainer's party gets overwritten by the roamer, doesn't matter if that Pokemon was still alive or not. And then any Pokemon from slot 2 and 3 that are still alive, or were alive when you lost the battle, they will show up afterwards, and you can catch one of them. Like once you catch a Pokemon, it ends the battle. And here it took me a very long time to find the Latios, and then because I kind of speedran this playthrough to get to the battle tower, I skipped some of the trainers and I ran into one of those trainers and that cancels the glitch. So I was like, oh no. It took so long to find Latios and then that happens. Like, oh. Latios really didn't want to cooperate. Usually it's not this bad. But sometimes it is when trying to find the Latios. I've had quite a few times where I find it immediately. I feel like a third of the time you get it immediately, a third of the time it takes really long, and then the rest is like somewhere in between. Because I've done this glitch a lot now, like I think I've at least 50 Pokemon stolen from Ruby Battle Tower. And there are quite a few useful Pokemon for a bunch of reasons, like some you can catch legendaries. And one important thing, like in Emerald, in the Frontier, Pokemon, they always have same EVs, moveset, etc. That's the same in the Ruby Tower. Yeah, here I ran into this this trainer. I went past her, then I looked at the other spinner, was like, oh, and then while I was looking at him, I got caught by her, so I took revenge by taking Groudon and Fire Blasting her grass types. So yeah, the stats are always the same, but including the natures. But in Ruby and Sapphire Tower, that's not the same. The natures are random. There are natures in the code, but I don't know why. Like, maybe they just needed it there and they didn't actually use it. I'm not sure. Like, I thought maybe it can be every nature except the one in the code, but that's not true because I caught at least one of them that had the same nature as the one in the code. The reason I thought that was because there are so many Pokemon with natures in the code that are like the worst they could possibly have, like a Brave Starmie or something. So I thought like that has to be intentional, right? But no, doesn't look like it. But yeah, we can catch these Pokemon. And we can get legendaries. I've got a lot of legendaries. They were my main target, at least at the start. And including a modest Latios. And I'm fighting at rounds where they all have perfect stats. So this is 6 perfect IVs, Latios, modest nature. The attack is actually kind of bad because you take more damage from confusion and we're not using the attack stat. But hey, I'm not gonna complain. I got a modest Latios. I also got modest Regis. I got bold Regis. I got calm and careful. I think Registeel. I got bold Latios. I got calm. No, bold Latias. Calm Latios, which those natures probably aren't really gonna be used. And a bunch of like normal Pokemon. And things like Swampert. I want a Swampert as a breeding parent. And a lot of other Pokemon as a breeding parent because they have perfect IV. So I can just breed them with some other Pokemon I want. As long as I catch a male. And sometimes you can just... I also got a modest Gardevoir. Which I don't know what I'll do with. Because I really like plus speed nature on Gardevoir, at least for the dome, because that allows you to outspeed base 100s. Regirock that I faced here, Regirock is really difficult to catch because 3 out of the 4 Regirocks you find have explosion. All the Regis have some explosion sets, but Regis and Registeel are easier to catch. So here's a Latios, and I went into this tower, not with the intention of catching like a bunch of good Pokemon, which I kind of got addicted to, so I did. Because it's a really fun way to hunt for strong Pokemon. But I wanted 6 Latioses, because I am making a secret base. And in secret bases, you can, if you record mix with a different cartridge, you can... face the trainer with the team they had when they record mix. And if Latios learns Memento, which kills the Pokemon. So you have and Latios gives a lot of XP, not as much as a Blissey, but it instantly dies turn 1, no matter if your Pokemon's like level 100 or level 5. Instantly over, and you just get so much XP. So I wanted that XP grind. And once we have a team of level 100s, we will replace the level 50 Latios base with the level 100. Also something you saw, I decided to do this the first time on stream, like after I finished EV training. I still had time to do more. And I didn't have anything to level 40 mean look to stop the roamer, and KT sent me his Ghastly that he uses with the glitch. But it relies on Destiny Bond. And Latios has 2 psychic moves, but also 2 non-attacking moves. So if you run out of PP on Destiny Bond and it just decides to not kill you, that's not great. So I bred an Explosion Gengar who outspeeds, explodes turn 1. You don't even need the mean look. Latios just dies. And that is how I've been doing this. I've also been trying to find a way to keep the roamer alive, because you can only do this once on a save file. Now I can back up my saves. I trade away the Pokemon I caught and load the backup save before I lost and use the roamer glitch. So I can get around it that way, but I've been trying to find a way where other people can also, who don't have such a device, can do the glitch multiple times. I haven't found a way yet. I tried Mean Look Whirlwind, because it does say Pokemon Trainer sends out new Pokemon when you beat the roamer. But that didn't work. Then I tried Perish Song, because there is special AI where on the last turn of Perish Song, Pokemon switch. But that didn't work either. Like, I switched to a different Pokemon with Mean Look to stop the Mean Look, and on the switch, the roamer didn't run. So then I had to press Mean Look again, because otherwise it's gonna run it, maybe. Either it's gonna switch before I Mean Look, or it's gonna try to run. And it tried to run, so I Mean Looked it and it died. Which was unfortunate. I have come up with one more thing I want to test out, which is skill swapping Natural Cure onto the roamer and then putting it to sleep, because there's AI where if they're natural cure and they're asleep, they'll switch. I don't think it will work, but that's the last thing I could think of. If you have any ideas, let me know. And here we saw me resetting for a Moltres. This is not for the casual IV challenge. I made a separate video about this Moltres, but I figured I would include it here as well, because this... I don't have a team in mind for this Moltres, but I will probably use it at some point. It's just fast and has decent special attack. And I got it in 23 resets, which was very lucky. And then something else not related to the casual IV challenge. I've been breeding for Tangela and Swampert, which I both want to use later. And I'll maybe breed some other Pokemon as well. But yeah, this Tangela, at first I had, before I did the Ruby Tower glitch, I did a breeding chain with Sunkern and Cacnea to get Giga Drain and Leech Seed. But now I'm using a 6 Perfect IV Breloom as a fodder, who can also, of course, get those moves. And yeah, that makes things easier. I only need 3 perfect IVs for the Tangela: HP, defense, and speed. And then hopefully good special attack and special defense. But those aren't as important. Unfortunately, HP is the least likely stat to be passed on through breeding, and defense is the second least likely, I think. But HP is by far the least likely, so I've gotten a bunch of good Tangelas, but no perfect HP on those. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for updates on all the prep I've done. I will probably try to do my first Dome attempts this week, maybe on Friday. I would do it in the weekend, but I'll probably be doing some Ore practice matches. So yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.